So let's talk about the graphs for even degrees and odd degrees. So let's say we have a function like this, and let's call it f of x, okay? So we have a function f of x, and let it be x squared. So x squared, this is even degree. So when we graph it, we'll see that it's going to be a happy face, right? But the more important thing is that it started above the x-axis and it ended above the x-axis. Okay, this is the x-axis, and so that's the important thing about all even degrees. They're gonna begin above the x-axis and they're going to end above the x-axis. Now, what about if it's negative? For example, it was like, what if we have negative x squared? Then it's going to be a little different, but very similar. The entire graph is actually just going to look like this. Instead of being a happy face, it's going to be a sad face. And it's going to begin below the x-axis, and it's going to end below the x-axis. And when I say begin and end, we always begin from the most left part of the graph, and we always end at the most right part of the graph. So here's the begin, and here's the end. So we began below the x-axis, and we ended below the x-axis, okay? So let's look at a few examples. For example, I have x to the 98th power. What is that going to look like? Well, is 98 even or odd? It's even, so that means it's going to end above the x-axis, and it's going to end above the x-axis. And also, there is no negative sign, right? So since there's no negative sign, it's going to be a happy face. It's going to stay above the x-axis. And the end points are going to stay above the x-axis also. And so what if we have something like this? So we have f of x is equal to negative x to the 100 power. Well, this is even degree also, because 100 is even, but we have a negative sign. So then it will actually look like this graph we have right here. Because since it's negative, it's gonna be a sad face, and it's gonna begin and end below the x-axis. The most important thing about even degrees though is that it begins and ends in the same part of the x-axis. Now, let's look at something that's completely different from even degrees. I want to talk about odd degrees now, okay? So that was all you need to know about even degrees. But what about odd degrees? So if we have a function like f of x is equal to x cubed, 3 is the odd degree. So the graph is going to look something like this. Notice that I began below the x-axis and I ended above the x-axis. So that's the thing about odd degrees. With odd degrees, we're always going to begin in one place and we're going to end in the opposite place. So there's actually a trend. So for example, if I have x to 39 power, it's going to look like this because it's positive, it's not negative. So if it's positive, it's a positive odd degree, then the beginning is going to be negative and the end is positive, the positive part of the y-axis. Right, that's how I remember if it's when we have odd degrees and it's positive, I'm going to look at where it ends. So since the graph of x cubed looks like this, it ended in the positive, right? It ended in the positive, and that's why it's a positive function. But what if I had a negative function for an odd degree? For example, f of x is equal to negative x to the 99. Okay, this is just an odd number, but we have a negative sign. So what we're going to do is just, instead of it looking like this, it's actually going to begin in the positive and it's going to end in the negative. Okay? And I think that's a pretty good way to remember. Wherever it ends determines the sign. So since it ended in the negative part of the y-axis, it's going to have a negative like coefficient in front of it, right? So it also doesn't matter what kind of number is in front. For example, negative 90 x to the 99. It doesn't matter that there's 90th here. We're just not going to care about it. We just care about what degree it has. Also, similarly, this works for both odd and even degrees. We don't care about anything other than the degree. For example, if we have, like they tell us what is the graph of f of x equals x, no, let's show you what a real example would look like. They might say like 109 x cubed, and then plus, 50 x squared plus 7, blah 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 blah. They might throw a bunch of stuff. The only thing we're concerned about is this right here. We get rid of everything. We just look at what the degree is for the x, the highest degree. The highest degree is 3, and it was positive. It was positive 109. But if it was like a negative 109, again, our graph will end in a negative. So that's polynomial end behavior for odd and even degrees.